You are listening to the Pimp Your Brilliance podcast, and this is episode number 62. Welcome to the Pimp Your Brilliance podcast with Monique Malcolm, a show about creative people leveraging their brilliance to create their own opportunities. I aim to show you what's really possible when you shut down the chorus of fear and lean into your genius zone. You can learn more about this show and subscribe for updates by visiting keepchasingthestars.com/podcast. Hey Star Chasers! Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Pimp Your Brilliance. I am your host, Monique Malcolm, and the Pimp Your Brilliance podcast is a show for side hustlers and creative entrepreneurs who want to create opportunities and income by leveraging their ideas, their talents, and their skills. And it goes down here every single week on Wednesday, where I share inspiring interviews from amazing creative entrepreneurs from various backgrounds, and then I get on the mic myself and I do solo episodes where I share bits and pieces of my own journey, strategies and things that I'm doing currently, just giving you like a behind the scenes insight into what it takes to grow a creative business. And before we go any further, I just want to let you know that this episode is sponsored by the Visionary Journal. The Visionary Journal is a day planner with vision, encompassing everything you need to successfully achieve your goals. It seamlessly blends setting goals, a vision board, planning your day-to-day, and monthly review to help you get from idea to done. So to learn more about the Visionary Journal and to order a copy, you can visit visionaryjournal.co. Alrighty, now that we've gotten that out of the way, let's talk about today's episode. Today I have Lori Rochino on the show. She is our guest, and let me tell you a little bit about her. So Lori stumbled upon podcasting 2 years ago, and she's been hooked ever since. She created the Simply Designed Life podcast, which is for entrepreneurs who want to simplify their busy lives in order to make room for the things that matter. She's also the author of 50 Shades of Simple, How to Prioritize in the Age of Information Overload. So Lori is a podcasting and a productivity coach. And in this episode, she's going to be talking to us about how to be productive as a busy creative and entrepreneur. Because let's be honest, a lot of us are struggling with getting things done, really producing the way that we feel like we should and we can. And you guys ask me all the time for tips about productivity and things of that nature. So I have brought on a productivity specialist to give you some insights and some ideas into how you can really simplify your life and make time for the things that matter most to you, like your passion projects or your family or your hobbies or your dogs or whatever it is. Like that's what I want you to have time for, and so that you don't feel so pressed and that you can eliminate the feeling of hustler's guilt. Because you know what sucks? Feeling like you should be working even when you're taking a break or you're taking time off. That's no bueno. So I'm hoping that this episode will give you some really solid productivity tips so that way you can get more things done and feel rested and like you can take a break when it is that time. So if you are ready, grab your pen and your notebook and let's dive in. Hi, Lori. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Monique. Thanks for having me.
I'm so excited to have you. We're going to be talking about one of my favorite topics today. It's the thing people are always asking about. They want more tips about it. So you are like right on time. This is a super timely episode, so I can't wait to talk about productivity for busy creatives, because everyone wants to be a bit more productive. And hopefully by the end of this show, we'll have some solid ways that people can actually take this desire and apply it to their creative lives and their own businesses. Okay, so let's start at the top. Tell us a little bit about your background. How did you get started? Like, where did this productivity idea and your podcast, like where did that all originate?
Yeah, sure. So like everybody else, or many people, I graduated college, worked a 9-to-5 job in corporate marketing for about a decade. And that was in financial services and startups in both the New York City and the Boston areas. And then my future husband and I, after a bit of long distance dating, I moved up to Boston, was with him for a while, and then we relocated again to start our family in the Philadelphia suburbs. So at the moment, I'm doing freelance work. And I've been doing a lot of freelance and marketing writing, but then it came to a point where I was just getting tired and burnt out from the medium. I just didn't feel the sense of connection as I would if you and I were like talking in a coffee shop or doing this podcast, for instance, and just talking right now. And so I wanted to switch things up a bit. And so that's how I got into podcasting. The coach that I was working at the time had started her own podcast, and it was very low tech. And it wasn't anything fancy, no NPR quality equipment. It was just really bare bones. And I thought to myself, if she can do it, why can't I do it too? So I just really just got a microphone on Amazon, and I didn't know if this was gonna be a thing or not. So I just got like the cheapest that I can find. I think at the time it was like the Slew Snowball microphone for like $40, $50,
Yes.
something like that. And so I really just started. And granted, I was definitely not professional sounding or anything like that right out of the gate. I started putting words, and I was just like, oh man, I hate the sound of my voice. I think everybody who's a podcaster usually doesn't like the way they sound at first. But then after a while, I got more comfortable with the medium. And not only that, but just the immediacy of being able to connect and communicate with someone else. And so I stuck with it, and I not only did a few solos here and there, but I also did some interview podcasting like we're doing now. And I've since graduated from the Snowball to a ATR 2100, which is still kind of like a beginner mic. Looking into other options as well, of course, because you always have to up level at some point. Looking at other options as well, but yeah. Then from there stemmed my podcast show, Simply Design Life Podcast, in which I wanted to basically, I think at the time, this was about 2 or 3 years ago, I was reading Tim Ferriss's 4-Hour Work Week, which is like one of the entrepreneurial Bible, at least for online entrepreneurs.
That's so true.
I just really wanted to take what he said and just make it accessible for more, regular, normal day-to-day people, whether that be busy parents, people working a corporate job with a side hustle, people who are full-time parents who want to also be doing something on the side, passion project, what have you. But I just wanted it to be this informational hub of really about a lot of great conversations on how to create a freedom-based lifestyle that works for you, what that works for whoever's seeking it. And I think at that time that was like my revolution, kind of like how I want to be the change in some ways, if we're getting all like airy fairy up there. But yeah, that's kind of where that stemmed from.
Oh, I love that. I love that idea of what you said about taking the 4-hour work week, which you're absolutely right. It is like the online entrepreneur Bible, and make it more accessible to people. Because I think as much as we've all read that book, a lot of us find some of the content in there and really outsourcing things really to be not approachable and not, I would say not accessible, because we don't, like, there's just so much to it. And there's so much more that, that book could dive into when it comes to that. So I really love that idea of taking that content and really saying like, okay, how can I make this so that the average person can still create this kind of freedom lifestyle and make it in a way that works for them and not just like a one size fits all deal. So I love that.
Mm-hmm. Thanks. Yeah, and I just want to let audience members know you don't have to be a single male with all the time in your hands, and you don't have to be racing motorcycles or anything like that. It could be as simple as, like, say for instance, your hairdresser in the beauty industry, making a woman feel beautiful and at her best every day. It could be about, if you're working corporate and you find a need or want to make an impact, just starting that nonprofit or just getting ideas to get started and just finding that joy. That makes sense.
No, that makes total sense. I love that. Again, making things just be approachable and realize like these things can fit a range of different lifestyles and different ways that people make money. It doesn't just have to be the one thing, which I think is a big problem when it comes to online entrepreneurship. Is everybody is so focused on the few, I like to call them avatars, like the avatars of the really popular people who have made it and are writing these books and are like the gurus, but not all of those avatars like fit everybody's lifestyle. Like sometimes, that's the best way to explain it, is like the Tim Ferriss avatar. That does not really appeal to me because I am not a white male. I am an African American woman with a husband and a son and, a different lifestyle. And so sometimes it's hard to find the avatars that you're looking for, like a good role models or good models of the thing that you're trying to build. So I think making it approachable so that people can fit these things into their lives the way that they are now is amazing. Okay, so let's dive into this because productivity is the thing. So tell us, do you have like a specific philosophy that you like to operate under when it comes to productivity?
Ooh, that's a good question. Philosophy. Well, I usually like to start with the why. I know the why has been said like time and time again, verbatim. I think it's so true though, because I think there's both an inner game and an outer game to productivity. And what that means is, let's put it this way: take two circles, two concentric circles. Look at the inner circle and then the outer circle. In that inner circle is your why or your mission or what you want to do next in your life. So that could be anything from wanting to start a side hustle or wanting more time in a busy day to spend with your kids if you're working a full-time job. And so from there, you bring it to a mission, and so that's where you need to start. And then from there is the outer circle, the external. And how do you communicate this with the people that you're meant to work with or serve? Back to that nonprofit plan. If your mission is to help, bring water to certain countries, that's your mission. And then how would you communicate that? So the external part of it would be like, okay, well, maybe I'll use social media. Maybe I'll go on YouTube, and maybe I'll start a Patreon campaign. So that would be the part that's how you connect with the audience. So that's the first part, is understanding your why, your mission, and your belief system, and what the core and the heart of what you're doing. And then the external part is like who you're communicating to, and even the medium from which you communicate, whether it be video, blog posts, or it could be traditional media. Maybe you want to get on television and reach an even greater audience, or what have you. But those are the two things that you want to start with, is the inner and the outer game, so to speak. The next part is kind of a perspective play on things, where you really want to see things from, I would say, like three different levels. You got the visionary level, you got the strategy level, and then you got the ground tactics. So I would say the visionary level is that 30,000 foot view from an airplane. So you want to imagine yourself on that airplane looking out through the window. You got the window seat, no problem there. And you're looking at the clouds below you. And then you're also about getting ready to land, but you notice all the green squares and the patches, the farmlands, and then if you're around a city, the tall buildings. You want to take your mission and see it from that perspective. See, who are the people that you're going to help? So that is huge visionary worldview, the feelings that you feel when you help, the impact that you want to make. So that would be like the first perspective. Second perspective would be the strategy perspective, the top of the building. So that would be something like the 80-foot story view from like the top of a tall building. Let's say within the next 3 years, what do I want to achieve? What do I want to have happen to get to that big vision of impact? So maybe in 3 years, if you want to start like that nonprofit, you want it up and running. If you want to be able to have more time with your kids, within 3 years, you'll have a regular work schedule that will allow you to work from home like once or twice a week. And so you need to have like those goals from that. And you also have like the other kind of strategy, other larger strategies, especially if you decide to make a career change, such as say you want to make a career switch. You've been working in like finance or something and want to go into the helping profession, like healthcare, whatever. Maybe that requires like 3 years of training. So maybe that would be part of the strategic goals that you would have. So that would be the 80-story foot view from top of a building. And then the last level perspective would be the tactic level. So this is the ground to ground, day in, day out, rubber hits the road. You're a pedestrian, you're on foot, you're in the trenches. And these will be the task and what I would like to call the check-offable type of list of things. So if you're doing a career change, for instance, with that particular example, maybe your first step, I want to change careers. I want to go into the helping profession. What can I do next? Well, maybe I could take my lunch break to do some research on X profession or whatever it is you're interested in. So in sum, really the perspectives would come from both the inner and outer game, and also the three level of perspectives that I brought up: the visionary level, strategic level, and the tactic level. And I think when you have all those, productivity can work a lot easier because you're able to look at both the big picture and the day in and day out. And then 9 times out of 10, let's face it, we're so overwhelmed with the 24/7 digital distractions. But when you're aware of like some of the levels, some of the different layers that come about, I think it's easier to let the overwhelm go because then you know what's important.
Oh, I think all of that you just said was just so key, specifically the three perspectives, the levels. Because a lot of times, I think so many people stay focused in just the ground view.
Mm-hmm.
They don't ever really zoom themselves out to think about the bigger picture things. They're just like, I just need, like you said, everybody's overwhelmed.
Mm-hmm.
So we're just stuck in this like day-to-day grind and not really zooming out to think about, are the things I'm doing today really helping move the vision forward? Am I getting closer? It's just right here, right now, let's put out the fire.
Yeah, exactly. And that can be a dangerous thing if you just keep putting out the fires and don't take a step out and work on your business or work on your life or whatever it is you need to work on, because then you're going to be putting out fires for that something that might not even matter.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, so I want to know, because tell me your official title. I know you are are you a podcast host and a productivity coach?
Yes.
Did I see that right?
Yeah, I'm a podcast. I do some podcasting coaching as well, but I'm a podcast and productivity coach. Productivity coaching actually was an outgrowth of a declutter coaching I was doing in the past. I was doing more like professional organizing and help people like get rid of the clutter, both the physical and even some of the digital stuff that was like in front of them to make space for the things that matter. But then I noticed that then there was that void, and I think people needed more help with the time management and just finding out that clarity and finding out what it is that are the next best steps. So that's tied into the work that I do now.
Okay, awesome. So then I feel like this question applies. For you being a productivity coach, what are some common productivity mistakes that you find yourself talking to your clients about often or trying to help them correct?
Good question. I think a lot of the mistakes is, well, first of all, just being overwhelmed, period, but not knowing where that overwhelm is coming from in the first place. Because a lot of times it's the physical stuff, but a lot of times it's also the mental stuff, so to speak, that happens. And I'm not a certified therapist or anything like that, but that might require some extra work, which is not really my realm of focus. But when there's that awareness of where it's coming from, then it becomes easier to kind of clear the web, so to speak, on the physical clutter that's around the house, the digital clutter. And then there's this idea of, well, maybe I could stop being reactive once there's that realization, that is, if that makes sense. So I think first, I guess to answer your question, and feel free to bring me back if I ramble on, it's just the awareness and not knowing what to ask. I think just like coming to help from further in the first place is the first step. But then from there, there's like all these other interwebs that you need to uncover. And a lot of it does stem from like past experiences. I'm growing up in homes where there might have been a lot of clutter growing up. It's just the way things were done, just like the way like people thought of things and the mindset. And I think the two are intricately connected, the whole mindset and then your space and that sort of thing. So, and then from then, once there's that realization that, okay, well, now I know where this is coming from, I guess I could take a few steps. I don't know where to start. The next step is just really just going through the work and not delaying things. So when I take my clients through a process, I try to make sure that they do some tasks that are doable but also a stretch. Because let's face it, you don't get to where you are all in a vacuum, especially it took you a while to get there. So there are some things that you need to clear out first, but there are some things that you could also do to clear the space. So say, for instance, someone's like, I don't know why I can't start my nonprofit. It shouldn't be rocket science or anything like that. And you go to the home and there's like just all this junk all over the place. It's like, well, I don't know if that you're going to have a space for it because you're doing other things. You know what I mean? So one of the things that I do is just help them get a space, whether it's a corner in the room, dining room table. Corners are great because people use it as a catch-all, but you could just like tell them to just get rid of that stuff, and then you can clear it so that like it becomes a dedicated focus area and not a hot spot, which is like what many areas of the house might seem like. And then so that becomes the dedicated space, and then what we'll do is we'll add in a little bit of like a flexibility in time so that they're dedicating either 30 minutes or an hour a day to just work on that one project and stay in that space. And it becomes this intentional way for the person to move forward, the client to move forward, and be able to achieve some kind of traction in the vision that they had set for themselves.
Okay, I want to bring you back to something that I've heard you say multiple times, which is the digital clutter. I always refer to it as we all have this, but especially online creatives, we all have this folder where we put opt-ins and free ebooks and things like resources that we've collected over the years on our, from all these things that we've signed up for. And I call it the digital dungeon. And everybody has like this digital dungeon with all this information locked in it. But I think it's so interesting how you keep highlighting like this is a thing, a source of overwhelm for people. And as you're saying it, I realize, and I'm pretty good at organizing my digital spaces, but I can totally see how having this digital clutter could be so overwhelming. Because right now I have several videos that I saved to my computer screen because I was working with them and I didn't want to put them in a folder until I got everything situated. But every time I look at it, I'm just like, oh, I gotta hide that side of the screen because it's visual clutter. And it's like in my face. And I'm like, that stuff is not supposed to be there, but I don't want to move it until I'm finished. So talk to us about this digital clutter that your clients are amassing. And we're all amassing, actually. Everyone is with photos and just all of this stuff. But let's talk about that.
With clients with a physical space, if there are items that that person hasn't like used in like 2 or 3 years, what I tend to do is like have them put those things in a box. So for the digital side of things, say for those videos that you don't want to toss out necessarily, but maybe you might need it sometime, like that those skinny jeans, for instance, that you swore you were going to lose weight to fit into. One of the things you could do is create a folder, and you could put video, but put a sell by date on that digital folder. So, okay, 6 months from now, if I'm not still looking at this, it's going to go in the delete file, and then have someone hold you accountable for that, whether that be a friend, or if you're part of a business mastermind group, your mastermind group, they'll tell you to get rid of it and watch you do it. So that's one of the things you could do is just create a temporary folder, because truth be known, 9 times out of 10, you're probably not even going to look at it anyway. It was just something that you felt that you wanted to hold on to because you feel like you need it. But on the other hand, if you don't let go of it, you're still going to have that like kind of a stuck energy. And it's kind of ironic because once you do let go of it, you'll start to like have a little bit more space and more creativity to make something even better, or, maybe something similar, that another idea that you could work on that might be in the similar realm.
Oh, I never even thought about I have temporary folders but I never thought about putting a sell by date on it. And now that you said that, like my mind immediately went to this folder that I have on my computer that I'm like, oh, you should totally put a sell by date on that folder because it's just who even knows what's in there at that point. But you're right. We hoard these things digitally because I think it's because it's not taking up physical space. Because obviously, if this was something that was in the room, you would be looking at it and being like, "Why do I even have that? I don't need it." But because it's not a conscious thing, it's not in your actual space. We just kind of put these things aside. But you're right because this one folder I'm thinking about, I was in it a few weeks ago, and I was like, "What is this? Like, what is even in here?" I don't even know, but I didn't want to delete it because I didn't have time to go through it at that moment. But just the stuff that I saw at glance, I was like, what is this? I don't know what this is.
Yeah, I think as creative entrepreneurs, a lot of us just have a lot of ideas. We're so creative. We're so passionate about what we do. So every idea is just like, ooh, I got to get this. It's like a shiny object. But we don't realize is that, shiny objects, they come and go. You're going to have to, at some point, take action on some of them. So, yeah, definitely want to put sell by dates on the ones you're not going to work on now. And you know what? If those ideas were meant to be worked on, they'll come back and you'll be able to open space for it to happen. But it doesn't necessarily have to take place on your hard drive or on your desktop in the interim.
Do you have any favorite productivity tools that you like to use?
I have many. I have both the physical planner, which has the your typical weekly minders, day to day. One of them I use for personal, another one I have it, and I have a separate one for business. Another one is just my regular Google Docs. Every now and then, if I want to see like the big picture visionary stuff, I'll actually track that on Trello, just because that is more of a visual board. So, those are the key things that I use. Lately, though, I had been using this. I'm part of this Life Pilot program, so I have my own productivity accountability coach as well. I don't know if you're familiar with Natalie Sisson of is it the Suitcase Entrepreneur, but I think
Hmm.
since then she's been doing I guess other activities. Well, she also has this Life Pilot program, and there's like this spreadsheet where it has everything in one hub, like a spreadsheet of like your dailies, your 3 year goal, your weeklies, that sort of thing. But the whole point of that program that I've been following myself is to focus on three at a time. And it doesn't have to be three forever. I think as entrepreneurs, a lot of us get like, oh my God, no, three's not enough. I have to do everything. I have to get my team to do everything. But no, it's at the time slot that you're allotted, break it down to three at a time or even one at a time. And that's actually helped a lot. It does help act as a GPS, because sometimes we do have like systems within systems, and so like going back to like a hub or somewhere to just like stay focused usually helps. So when I have like everything kind of spelled out like daily, weekly, and even like the 3 year vision. I mean, they're all like jotted down in words and stuff like that. And I don't look at it all the time, but from time to time when I get a little overwhelmed with my daily, I'm just like, is this in alignment with what was envisioned? Then, it's nice to toggle between and I'm getting a little nerdy here, between the sheets of the spreadsheets. But it's been really helpful in staying focused and productive.
Okay, I'm totally adding that to the show notes because that sounds really awesome. I'm a person, even though I'm a paper planner, I always call myself a paper planner who lives in a digital world. I love a good spreadsheet. I love like fiddling with tools. So
Yeah.
that's one of the reasons why I have to like be really conscious about taking on too many digital tools because I
Mhm.
will tweak and just it gets really bad. And I'm like, I've wasted an entire day organizing this board of sorts, and it can be really crazy. But I want to know more about this Life Pilot program because that sounds like something I can tweak.
Yeah, and it's great because like many planners and eager beavers and stuff like that, I think it was like the end of last year or whatever, I found myself exactly in that dilemma. I had like all my organizers and the ones that I had mentioned, the digital tools, the paper tools, and at some point I was just like, all right, something else needs to happen here. So I just did a quick Google search, and then Natalie Sisson's product came up. So yeah, I went onto the Life Pilot, checked it out, and I was like, oh, okay, this might actually work. And she forced, and what they do is, I think the simplicity of it is that they force you to focus on three at a time, which is hard. And that's become kind of like almost like a real challenge practice. Like, you're going to the gym, you're going to do 10 reps. Like for me, it's like, I'm going to only focus on three things and not look at anything else. It's like, oh my God.
Oh. So wait, is this three tasks or like three projects or just like three
Well, three
tasks?
three tasks a day that you focus on at a time. So you have like your MITs, or most important tasks. And I think this was also even in Tim Ferriss's book, The 4 Hour Work Week, where you get your most important task done before 11 a.m. or whatever you can at that moment. Just focus on those top three. So whatever you do throughout the day, as long as you focus on those three, you can say that you made traction, and that's like a win. So that's the whole point, is to just have those, as opposed to the 10 things on your list, where it's going to be harder to juggle that chunk of 10. But then if you just break it down to three, and more so if you make it like maybe not three business tasks, but if you diversify it so that it it has like a health task, a work task, and then maybe a personal task or something in a different life category, even better. So like mine, for instance, would be to like maybe go to a gym, get a workout in. So that would be like one of the tasks. Another task would be to follow up with a client or prospect, and do it within like whatever slot I had mentioned on my planner. And then the third one would be like, okay, how about a let's schedule date night or something like that. We'll get a babysitter. So something like that would definitely help in having well, I guess in my end, it would be like the successful life. Of course, we can go to town on like, well, how do we even plan that out? There's so many things going on. We have to, now you're bringing in categories. I just want to be able to get what's in front of me. And I get that. Everybody's at it. And, but the thing is, you have to start where you're at. And if there's a lot of stuff, then maybe that's probably going to tell you that, there's stuff to, I guess, unclutter, or stuff that deserves your attention before you can move on to the next area of life that you want to work on.
Well, by that logic, I've already knocked out 2 of the 3 things today. I've been to the gym and I'm recording this podcast, so I just need to do one more thing and my day is done. Like, I won the day.
You won the day, or at least like the most important things. And then when you're done with that, it's your choice whether you choose to do the next set of 3 or next one or whatever is on your list. But the whole point is to like at least get those eager beaver wins first. As you know, throughout the day, there's going to be a lot of things to react to. So I think the whole point is for those 3 tasks to just keep you grounded and focused and centered, so that at least those are knocked out of the park. And then you can either react to like the fires that you're going to just have to put out, as is what happens in life, or you might be lucky and you don't have fires that day and you can move on to the next 3 most important things, or whatever other tasks that you want to do.
Okay, so I want to know, because we're talking about productivity for busy creatives, what are some ways that creative entrepreneurs can simplify their lives and make room for the things that really matter? Obviously, the 3 things that you just mentioned from the Life Pilot, but are there other ways that we can just eliminate some of these feelings of overwhelm and just really simplify?
Absolutely. I think, first of all, I don't know if you've ever seen that movie Gone with the Wind, but not to go off on too much of a tangent, but I remember this one scene where there was an hourglass and the sands were moving down, and then there was like this quote like on a brick that said, do not squander time, those are the things, as that's what life is made of, or that's what the stuff is made of. And if I misquoted, I'm really sorry. But anyway, ever since I thought about that, I thought about like the whole morning routine and giving yourself the first hour of the day. So for your audience members out there, I'm not sure if you've ever heard of Julie Cameron's morning pages, but every morning, one of the practices is to write down for 2 minutes just everything that's going on in your brain. So if you have your iPhone, just put 2 minutes and just write like everything that comes to mind and just do a total brain dump. Like, okay, I gotta go get the car serviced, or, oh, I gotta prepare for a speech, or I gotta, whatever it is, and just everything, take the dog to the vet. And then, after 2 minutes are done, and then, you can, be able to take a look and see, okay, well, maybe I don't need to do this or that. This is more important. It's easier to clarify stuff on your brain sometimes when it's like on paper. And if you don't like to write, then, you can also record. You could video yourself, and you don't have to show this to anybody. So, if you're in your car or if you're like in a quiet place, you could definitely do that and just hit playback if that's easier. And that's one of the ways, is just to gain this awareness, because sometimes we're so reactive in the day-to-day that it's hard to just take a step and just, find out what is it that I'm thinking of. One of the things that we could do is, definitely, this is part of like what I call the AM routine or morning routine, or a bit of a powwow, is to get in touch with yourself. So whether that be journaling, meditating, if you're faith-based, you could do prayer, but just give yourself like 5, 10, or 15 minutes a day. Because again, like those sands of time, most of the time, and especially as women, we give our time to pretty much everyone else but ourselves, more times than not. So self-care is very important. So to be less overwhelmed, give yourself the first few minutes of the day, if at all possible. Obviously, if the mornings don't work, then maybe pick like another time in the day where you definitely have time, like a lunch break, or sometime at night when the house is quiet, and just give yourself that time to yourself. You don't want to be like a car running on empty. You need to fill the gas tank, so to speak. So giving yourself that time will allow you to give from a well that's filled, as opposed to a well that's empty. So that would be the first hack. Another hack would be to work in, I don't know if your audience would be familiar with a Pomodoro method.
They are, because I talk about it all the time because I love it.
Okay. I don't have to mention it, but if you have a problem, I'm scheduling this in. First step is just definitely so basically, yeah, the time management hack where you work in sprints. Make it part of the Pomodoro. It doesn't have to be productivity, but take that self care aspect and Pomodoro that in, or even schedule it in your calendar so it actually gets done. And it's gonna feel weird doing that at first. Like I know, like I myself and even some of my clients, they're just like, oh, I don't want to do this. but then you'll find that like once you do give like something of yourself, it you're in a better state of mind. You're less overwhelmed because then you have some clarity. It's not perfect clarity all the time, but there's a bit of a groundedness when you have a little bit of a powwow in the morning or whatever time of the day that you set for yourself. So the next step really is to schedule it out. So, and you could use the Pomodoro at first, to get that done. And that'll definitely help to get the ball rolling in self-care.
I love that. I never even considered that, but that makes perfect sense, especially for moms who are really busy, like saying, okay, I'm going to give myself 25 minutes to sit here and drink this cup of coffee and meditate. That's really doable and approachable, finding 25 minutes. So I think that that's an awesome hack. It's just like, okay, how many pomodoros of self-care can I get in today?
Yeah, definitely.
I love that. Okay, so this is kind of productivity related, but how do you protect your energy? Because I think energy management kind of goes into this idea of productivity, and especially as busy creatives and overwhelmed creatives and just in general, do you have anything particular that you do to kind of manage your energy and protect that throughout the day?
I definitely do. When one of the things that I do to protect my energy is to, first of all, I had to find out an awareness of when I did my better work, and I found that I have more energy before lunchtime, and then by like 12 onward, I might tend to crash. So I'll do like the highly critical tasks like before I have my lunch break, and that lunch break will be kind of a reward for getting those done. And so like that which requires more focus or more like brain power, so to speak, gets done then. And then anything admin related that doesn't really require that much brain power, I'll pretty much set for the afternoon after lunchtime. And that's usually how I manage it. Another thing I do too is I do have a couple of health issues. So one of the things that has helped me a lot is just like go to the gym every day or like do some kind of exercise, move my body. And I think exercise is definitely a really great productivity hack. And while I am not a personal trainer or any expert in that field, in the traditional sense, I have found that having fitness and exercise as part of my daily like non-negotiables has helped me. It puts me in a better mood. It allows me to do better work, and it allows me to get through the day-to-day time and energy management challenges. So like even if I have a bad day or something like that, I'll kind of force myself to either go for a workout, walk the dog. I have a dog too, just like yourself. And I'm sure, like, he has to be walked several times too. So knowing where my energy patterns are and adding exercise to the element helps. And if your audience members aren't really sure where their energy, where they have peaks of energy and where they have lower peaks of energy, best thing to do is just to track your energy throughout the day. Like, how are you feeling? Like in the morning, are you feeling energized or feeling meh? Whatnot, do it for about a week. And then at the end of the week, so take a look at the patterns and see like where you're more energetic, because that'll be an indicator of when you should probably do your mission critical task or just anything that requires a lot of mental bandwidth and brain power.
Okay, those are really good tips. Okay, so I want to ask this really quickly because I always like to make sure we balance this inspiring, it's exciting to be an entrepreneur with the reality of what it is to be a creative entrepreneur. So talk to me about some of your current challenges.
My current challenges is, entrepreneurship. I don't know if you've ever like lived in a big city or whatever, but I remember when I was living in New York City, I think I just graduated out of college, and it was really exciting and everything. I had all this energy. I was discovering new places and stuff like that. And I was always meeting new people. But one things that was like really hard was I guess establishing like longer term relationships with people, because people always like came and go. People were either in school or came from a different country and they were on a temporary work visa or whatever. I feel like entrepreneurship is kind of like that, like Manhattan Times Square hub, where you're gonna have people that's a lot of people stay, a lot of people go. And I think one of the biggest challenges was like I guess finding like connection, but like connection that like more of a long-term thing is finding a group of people. So one of the ways that I was able to combat that was to seek out business strategy groups and masterminds. And I lucked out, actually. I was able to find a group of people that'll help you stay the course, because it's in entrepreneurship, it's very easy to give up, especially when things don't work out. And I don't know, I'm pretty sure every entrepreneur or wantrepreneur has heard the Jim Rohn quote, "You are the average of the 5 people that you most spend your time with." And I realized that if I wanted to stay the course, I had to be around other entrepreneurs, but I also had to like find entrepreneurs that were kind of in it for the long term, because I have seen a lot of people come and go and just, decide, hey, this isn't for me. I think I'd rather just get a regular job. And it's absolutely fine. There are people that love their jobs. There are people that do a great amount of work and can do this on the side. And that's awesome. And, and there's, people who, just opt out completely and just want to do other things as well, whether they're retirees, people that have retired for their jobs, or who want to parent full time or take care of a parent even full time. So like everybody has, I think you just have to know what stage in your life that you're at, and from there, I think it's easier to find the support that you need, because then you'll find other people that are in similar stages, if that makes sense. I don't know.
Oh, that makes perfect sense.
Okay.
All right. So wrapping this up, my favorite thing is the end, our Pimp Your Brilliance Action Challenge. And for you, Lori, I would love if you could share 3 things or 3 tips, 3 ways that you can instantly improve your productivity.
Okay. First thing is, I would just, if you have a messy desk, clear your desk or wherever workspace you work on. And I think just being able to have a clear desk will help get your mind to be clear as well. Because I don't know if you've heard the saying, but messy desk, messy mind. So clear desk, clear mind. Find a space to clear and see if you can keep it clear for like a day or 2. It doesn't have to be super perfect, but maybe just like at least the first day or 2. And then see what that does in terms of giving you more energy or creative space, because you're not distracted by these visual cues. When it's clear, it's going to be easier to focus on what you have here. So that would be the first tip. Second tip, I know I already mentioned this, but it can't be emphasized enough. Give yourself 10-15 minutes a day just for you, and fill that well with an activity that's going to help you give from a place of feeling nourished, or feeling like you have something to give. So whether that be 15 minutes of, and you could do, the activity doesn't matter, but just start a habit where you can just ground yourself with a powwow activity like journaling, meditating, maybe even like learning from a course in personal development, just for 15 minutes a day, and have that be part of your regular practice. Third thing is, I guess I haven't mentioned this, but I would also, if you're also journaling, think of like one thing to be grateful for every day. I think sometimes we're moving at such a fast pace that it's tough to smell the roses. So if you can like find something to be grateful for and why, I think that'll just help you be in a better position to like realize that you already have abundance. You already have like something good going on for you. And sometimes we don't take note of that. We just take note of like the stuff that's negative or stuff that we need to do better at. But every now and then, just like see what you have that, that's really going for you. And even like maybe even in some ways, maybe you could even celebrate some of your wins, because I think sometimes we forget that, yes, I had this goal. I didn't reach it exactly, but there were these steps that I actually took. I actually walked myself to the gym, and I actually even though I didn't do as hard as a workout as I wanted to, I showed up. So you can make that as a celebration. So take note of that. Or if you have a dog that's like really excited to see you every day, be grateful for that smile on your dog's face, or any pet for that matter. If you have cats, if you're a cat person, appreciate your cat or like the people in your lives and so on and so forth. So those are the three things. And a long-winded answer is declutter your space or your desk or like a small space where you can see an immediate win and nothing on it so that you can be a little bit more productive. Have a powwow or or just some grounding routine in the morning, preferably. If not, sometime in the week and schedule that in. And the third one is include gratitude in the practice. And I think that should set you up for success.
Awesome. And then I love to ask, what books are you currently reading or that you've read recently that were really great that we should check out?
Oh gosh, that's a good question. Oldies but goodies, but I actually came across this book, Awaken the Giant Within You by Anthony Robbins. I think I bought it at the co-working space that I do work at, and I was originally going to give it to one of my mastermind friends, but I ended up reading it myself. So I started going through some of the teachings that he had on like mindset and stuff like that. So that's been really helpful in the personal development realm. Sometimes, every now and then, I'll read Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich, because sometimes it does have some good tips on how to. It's not even just about like being rich, but getting into the mindset of creating the prosperity and abundance in all areas of your life. And it's another entrepreneurial classic that people go to from time to time. So it's nothing really new. I have like more of the evergreen kind of books. Although I do have on my list, what is it called? Marketing Rebel by Mark Schaefer. Marketing Rebellion. So in the content marketing space, that's also been on my list. One of the things that book helps you be more human as a company, and especially as a solopreneur. Sometimes we want to take on the traits of the corporations that we might have worked for in the past, but to bring the vulnerability and the human element back to it is what helps connect. So I think that's the premise of that book. That's another book that I'm not reading right now, but it's on my list.
Awesome. Okay, so I'll add all of those to the show note. And then finally, how can listeners get in touch with you?
Sure. If you'd like to connect, you could definitely check me out on my website at LoriRochino.com. It's LoriRochino.com. You could definitely email me, connect with me on social. I got a Facebook page, Instagram, Twitter, and you can also check out my podcast, Simply Design Life, which is the link. There's a link to it on my website, and it's also on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, and many other media players. If you're interested in getting into these powwow habits, I do have this Simply Design Life e-course. So it's basically a 4-day Kickstarter to Zen-like productive habits, and it'll help you stress less, have more calm in just 5 minutes a day with these really short, actionable micro tasks. And you'll receive the 1 email a day over the course of 4 days. And it'll just help you with your productivity, self-care, and personal growth. And again, all this information can be found on my website, LoriRochino.com.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Lori, for being on the show today. I really appreciate all of your insights about productivity and just getting to talk with you in general.
Thanks, Monique. It was great being on your show.
All right, you guys, until next week, go out there and pimp your brilliance.